Rye and Quinn sat on the split-rail fence in front of the O'Chanter's house and watched the commotion on Mud Puddle Lane. "Have you ever seen anything like it?" Rye asked, carefully wrapping her arms and legs round the rail.
"Not since they spotted that school of sharks in the river a few years back."
The village had woken up that morning to find the streets filled with wild turkeys. Hundreds of them, at least 6 flocks, had come out of the bogs during the night. Mud Puddle Lane buzzed with villagers, armed with nets and axes. Some, using only their bare hands, they chased the lumbering, feathered creatures up and down the roads and alleys. Nobody on Mud Puddle Lane was about to let a free meal run away. The neighbourhood rooks perched on a cottage roof and watched in disapproval, almost as if they were embarrassed by the whole unseemly affair.
"Do you think anyone will catch one?"
Quinn asked. "I think someone will, sooner or later," Rye said. She flipped herself upside down, now dangling by her arms and legs from the fence like an exotic pet she'd once seen by the docks. The sailor who owned it called it a sloth.
"Shall we try?"
"My mother said not to bother. She left for the Willow's Wares early this morning. Brought Lottie with her. She seemed a little distracted." Rye wondered how many nights her mother had spent sitting up on their roof. Had the terrible wail from the bogs rattled her the same way it had Rye? Rye found it easy enough to push the sound out of her head this morning, with the light of day and the routine of her regular chores, but her mother's nervous energy and the commotion in the streets had her thinking about the eerie noise again. "Did you hear anything strange outside last night?" Rye asked.
"With my father snoring,"
Quinn said.
"I can't even hear the roosters crow. Why? Did you?"
"I thought I heard something screaming. Or crying. Hard to say."
"It wasn't Lottie?"
"Not this time." One of Rye's neighbours leaped for a turkey and fell chest first in the mud. The big, clumsy bird flapped its wings and landed on the man's roof. Rye and Quinn laughed. Rye's laughter broke her grip. Her flailing legs found Quinn's ribs, and they both crashed to the ground.
"Are you okay?"
Quinn said, rubbing his side. Rye rolled over and struggled to catch her breath. "Fine," she wheezed. They both looked at each other, then back to the turkey chasers, and began laughing again. Rye's laughter trailed off as she considered what might have inspired the turkeys to leave their bogs and take their chances with the villagers' carving forks.
"They're hopeless,"
Quinn said.
"Let's go and read. I brought a surprise."
Paintings of mermaids, adventurers and monsters covered a wall by the O'Chanter's fireplace. As proud as Abby was of her daughter's talent, she hung the girls' paintings for another purpose. The artwork covered a hidden door that slid open if you pushed it in the right way. The door led to a few shallow steps and Abby O'Chanter's secret workshop. At least Rye assumed it was secret, because her mother never mentioned it to her, and she had never, ever seen her mother go in. Then again, Abby had never told Rye to stay out of the workshop, so technically Rye wasn't breaking any house rules. Regardless, Rye certainly wouldn't be telling Lottie about it anytime soon. Her sister ruined all the best hiding places. Rye and Quinn sat at the heavy wooden table that nearly filled the small, sunken room, careful not to disturb the tools, beads, and half-finished jewellery. Shady was curled up in a big black ball underneath it. If it hadn't been for him, Rye would never have known about the workshop in the first place. One day she had seen Shady sniffing the floor and pawing at Lottie's sketch of Mona Monster in a princess dress. Then, right in front of her eyes, he disappeared into the wall, as if it had swallowed him up. It was amazing what kinds of surprises your own house could hold. Rye and Quinn huddled round a lantern and a thick book. Tam's Tome of Drowning Mouth Fibs, Volume 2. Quinn said that the angry poet had collected Tam's tome after Rye had dropped it, but he'd been forced to stash it in a chimney.